And welcome back. It's time now for a new segment here on the Morning Swim Show, the workout of the week. Here's what we're looking for in this segment. If a swimmer did just an incredible set in practice at any level, or if you're a coach, again, at any level that put together an extraordinary set or workout, we want you to email us and tell us about it. That's what Chuck Batchelor did. He's the head coach of the Bluefish Swim Club in Massachusetts. It's where Elizabeth Beisel trains. And he told us about a workout that he designed that sounds more like something out of a CIA detention center, but we want to get him on to talk about it. The set 5400s. Yes, 5400s. So let's bring on Chuck Batchelor right now from Attleboro, Massachusetts. He is on Skype to talk about it. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Okay, 5400s. Is it, what are we talking here? Just like, hey, 5400s go, or was it broken up somehow?
Broken up. This kind of thing, it was Columbus Day, and I want to say probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I started doing this kind of a set on Columbus Day. So it's become something that the kids actually, I won't say they look forward to it, but they expect it, and they would think less of me if they didn't get it. And actually, I'll just tell a quick little story. I remember the first time that I'd done it, I was actually coaching the New England Barracudas, and I had David Russell and Eric Nielsen in the pool. And it was this time of year because it was Columbus Day, and Bob Bowman was recruiting them to Michigan, and he called me up after the set, and I told him about it. And that time, I think it was 48 400s. And in those days, I was a little less creative, and it was a little more just straight, ready, go. And so those two boys were absolutely exhausted. And I advised Bob to probably not call them that night because I didn't think they'd be much to talk to. And Bob thought it was great. He thought it was pretty cool that I gave them that to do. But anyway, this time around, tried to make it quite a bit more interesting. And I think someone said that Garrett had a copy of it that'll be displayed. But I mean, I can talk about any component of it. I try to make it so that the kids can actually be successful the whole way through. Certainly, quite a few of them run out of gas before it's over. But if they stay hydrated and keep their blood sugar up by eating continuously throughout the practice, a lot of them, to my real pleasant surprise, we probably had about 20 kids that were swimming real fast at the very end, which I think is pretty awesome.
Okay, so you're taking breaks so that they can eat and drink something, 2, 3, 4, or 5 minute breaks, something like that,
Right.
continuously throughout.
Yeah.
How old were the kids? What age group did this set?
We had, I would say, the set that's going to be shown, the actual 5400s, that was basically high school kids. We did have some younger kids. We had about 50 kids in the pool that day, which that's a credit to them alone because they came knowing what they were getting themselves into. It was 5 hours, and we probably had a handful of kids that were 12 or 13, and they did a slightly modified version of the same set. So they were swimming the same amount of time, but they probably, it was probably more like 5350s ultimately.
Okay, so we've been showing a little bit, giving people a glimpse. There's a lot of kicking in there. There's some, you did mix it up. It wasn't just like, hey, 5400s freestyle go. It was everything that is part of a typical workout, just in this unique format. My personal favorite is towards the end when it just says 400 fly race go. All joking aside, is that healthy for all the kids?
Well, knock on wood, we virtually don't have shoulder problems on our team. We do have a couple kids with some tenderness, but quite often it's kids that have come from another club, and they come in with that issue, and we do a pretty good job at managing it and taking care of it. I think of fly in two different ways, really. I think just doing survival fly at times is just great for toughness and makes you strong. And but then at the same time, I think it's important to swim fly correctly. And we don't normally do much over distance fly, but I want the kids to be able to. But if the reason I put at the end of the entire practice, if we'd done it early on, I think it would have pretty much killed a few of them, so they wouldn't have been able to finish strong. So I figured if it's at the end, it's that it's that last hurdle they have to get up over, and then when they are, they're done. And that was kind of the grand finale. And someone like Elizabeth was, I mean, the 400 fly, she was probably 420. I think she was under 430, so like 428, and the 200 flies, she was like 208s. So that's at the end of 20,000 yards. That's moving along pretty good.
Wow. Want to get back to Elizabeth just a second, but first I want to remind everyone we're going to put this actual set up on the website swimmingworld.com so you can see it, clearly and go through it yourself. We don't want to, have to just catch little glimpses here and there. So we will put this up on the website swimmingworld.com along with the interview. Now back to our conversation, Coach. So Elizabeth, she seems to thrive in these types of challenges.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that she loves it beforehand and thinking about it, but actually she looked through my book and she saw what I had planned for the day before Thanksgiving, which is also a typical long, grueling type of practice. And and on paper right now it's actually 27,000. It's probably going to have to get shaved down because I'm not sure we're going to have that much time. But she looked at that and she kind of gave me a look. But there's no way in heck she's going to miss that day of training, which I think is pretty cool.
Now the next day, Coach, the next day, do you give them the next day as a recovery day, or what do you do to make sure that they don't get overtaxed?
Well, I do pay attention to them. So after Columbus Day, the next day was pretty light. We probably still did about 7,000 or 8,000, but the intensity was really down, and we just we stretched a little.
Is it a challenge? Do you ever hear from college coaches that, hey, our programs, we don't do this much yardage, and it might be a challenge for your swimmers to adjust to our kind of program?
Well, actually, maybe even quite the opposite. I'm a firm believer in, that there's many ways to skin a cat, and while this is an example of some of the things we do a lot of quality and a lot of, probably the majority of our swimming is done short course, hundreds on 130. So that's really not packing in the yardage on a daily basis, but they are prepared to be able to handle something like this. But when they go off to college, I think one of the biggest mistakes that some of the college programs make is they'll take a sprinter and throw them in the distance group because they figure that kid needs to continue doing that. And I'm not so sure that's always the right thing. And quite often the kid may actually be the best source to be able to say, hey, I'm Chuck made me do this stuff and I got pretty good, but let's get a lot faster now doing less.
Do you think going back to the old school suits is going to change the way swimmers have to train in order to, make sure they're as fast as possible and, just old Speedos and jammers?
Yeah, no, I think absolutely. Fortunately, we really didn't have the super suits for all that long. So I'm not so sure people really changed the way they were training, although we may have gotten some kind of false confidence on the training that we were doing. It may appear that the training worked better than it actually did once we put on the suits. But I think no matter what, you have to be working hard. So whether you're swimming 3,000 yards a day or 20,000 yards a day, if it isn't hard, it's not going to work. But without the suits, I think at least what I'm looking at, what I believe is going to be the biggest factor, is the body composition and the body shape and kind of the fitness level. So that's right now a huge focus within our program, and certainly swimming 20,000 in a practice is going to add to fitness. But we're also doing a great job right now with dry land and having kids run with tires and medicine balls and all kinds of things. And I think we're fitter than we've ever been. and I'm real excited about that. And I think that is going to be the key to swimming fast without the suits.
Coach, interesting thoughts, and we appreciate your time.
Awesome.
And we appreciate you sending us in this set. This is exactly what we're looking for. We want people to tell us, to brag, if they will, about what their kids are doing or something, an idea that they have, because it gets the wheels turning for other coaches out there. And if nothing else, just increases the communication. So we appreciate it.
Fantastic.
Hey, say hi to Elizabeth for us. We love her here on the show.
All right, awesome.
All right.
Take care.
That's Coach Chuck Batchelor joining us from Massachusetts. We appreciate his time. And that is it for the show today. I'm Peter Bush, reminding you to keep your head down at the finish.